At this age, you know what I got saved? Let's just say if retirement was a video game, I'm not even at the tutorial level. I'm still trying to figure out which button makes me jump. And this kid with his whiteboard and his compound interest graphs is telling me I'm 3 years away from some magical financial checkpoint that apparently separates future comfortable from future disaster. So naturally, I did what any rational, sleep-deprived person would do at 1 in the morning. I went down the rabbit hole, and let me tell you something. This $100,000 rule, it's real. It's math. It's also the most depressing thing I've calculated since I figured out how much money I've spent on coffee in the last decade, but here's the thing nobody tells you. It's not about the number. It's about time. It's about the massive unfair advantage that people who started early have over people like us, who were too busy, surviving. So tonight we're going to talk about this rule, not because I'm some financial guru, I'm absolutely not, but because I spent the last 2 weeks figuring out if I'm completely screwed or just mostly screwed. And if you're sitting there thinking, 100 grand by 40? That's impossible. Well, grab a beer, settle in, because we need to talk about why you're probably right and what the hell we're supposed to do about it anyway. The reality check, why this number haunts your dreams. Here's the deal with the $100,000 rule, and I'm going to explain this like we're at a bar, because that's the only place this conversation makes sense. The rule says, by age 40, you should have saved approximately your annual salary. If you make 50 grand, you need 50 grand saved. If you make 100, you need 100 saved. The 100,000 number gets thrown around because it's roughly the median target for American households trying to retire at 65 without living on ramen and regret. Now, why 40? Why is 40 the magic age where financial people suddenly care if you've got your act together? Number one, time. If you hit 40 with 100 grand and you don't touch it, just let it sit there growing at a modest 7% average annual return, which is pretty standard for a boring index fund. By the time you're 65, that 100,000 becomes about $540,000. You didn't add a single dollar. That's compound interest doing its thing. That's your money making money while you're at work, arguing with your boss about why the break room coffee tastes like regret. Number two, psychology. 40 is when most people finally stop thinking they're invincible. At 25, retirement is a joke. At 30, it's something I'll worry about later. At 35, you start getting nervous. At 40, you look around and realize half the people you went to high school with already have gray hair and knee problems, and suddenly later doesn't feel so far away anymore. 40 is when the math gets real. Number three, recovery time. If you're 40 and you've got nothing saved, you've got 25 years. To figure it out before traditional retirement age, that's doable. Tight, but doable. If you're 50 and you've got nothing, now you're in crisis mode. You're looking at working until 70. Maybe 75. You're looking at a drastically reduced lifestyle. The hole gets deeper every year you wait. But here's where I start getting annoyed, where I start my little Canaan moment. Because these financial rules always assume you've had a normal, steady career. They assume you graduated college at 22, got a decent job at 23, and have been climbing that nice corporate ladder ever since. They assume you never got laid off, never had a medical emergency that wiped out your savings, never helped your parents with their bills, never made the mistake of thinking you'd catch up later because you were too busy trying to afford rent and food at the same time. According to the Federal Reserve's 2023 Survey of Consumer Finances, latest data we've got as of 2026, the median retirement account balance for Americans aged 35 to 44 is around $71,000. The median. That means half the people in that age group have less. And that $71,000, that's for people who actually have a retirement account. About 30% of Americans in that age bracket have zero retirement savings. Nothing. Nada. They're starting from scratch. So when some 23-year-old finance bro tells you that you need 100 grand by 40, what he's really saying is, you need to be in the top 40% of savers in your age group. And if you're not, you're already behind. Thanks, kid. Super helpful. Really taking the anxiety down a notch. Let's do the math on what it actually takes to hit that 100,000 target. Because this is where it goes from aspirational to, are you kidding me? If you start saving at age 25 and you want 100 grand by 40, that's 15 years. If you put your money in something reasonably safe, let's say a target date retirement fund, averaging 7% annual returns, you need to save about $400 a month. Every month, for 15 years, no breaks, no emergencies, no, I'll skip this month because the car needs new tires. $400 a month doesn't sound insane until you remember that the median monthly rent in America right now is around $1,800, median. Student loan payments average $300 to $400 a month. Car payment, insurance, groceries, utilities. We're not even talking about fun here. We're talking about existing. And suddenly that just save $400 a month. Advice feels like someone telling you to just flap your arms and fly to work. And here's the real kick in the teeth. If you're starting at 35 instead of 25, you've got 5 years. Same 100,000 goal. Now you need to save about $1,300 a month per month for 5 years straight, while also dealing with all the other financial chaos of your 30s. This is the part where I get my yap on, because this whole system is designed like a video game, where the tutorial is optional, nobody tells you the rules, and by the time you figure out you're supposed to be leveling up your savings, you're already 20 levels behind everyone who had parents with money or who got lucky with timing. The diagnosis, why we're all broke at 40 or heading there fast. So why are we in this mess? Why is hitting that 100,000 mark by 40 so brutally difficult for so many people? Let me walk you through the greatest hits of financial self-sabotage, most of which I've personally experienced. Mistake number 1, the "I'll start tomorrow" trap. This is the big one, the killer. When you're 25, retirement is theoretical, it's abstract. It's like worrying about what you'll eat for dinner in the year 2051. Your brain literally cannot process that level of future concern when you're worried about making rent next month. So you tell yourself, I'll start saving seriously when I get that promotion, when I pay off my car, when I move to a cheaper apartment, when I finally feel like I have breathing room. Except you never feel like you have breathing room. There's always another expense, another crisis, another just this once exception. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment to start saving, time is passing. And time is the only resource you can't buy back. I didn't start taking retirement seriously until I was 33. You know what that cost me? If I'd started at 23 putting away just $200 a month at 7% returns, I'd have over $130,000 by now. Instead, I've got, well, significantly less than that. That 10-year delay, it didn't cost me 10 years of savings, it cost me the growth on 10 years of savings. It cost me compound interest, the one free money multiplier we get in this life, working for me during the most powerful growth years. Mistake number 2, the lifestyle creep monster. Here's a fun psychological torture device. Every time you get a raise, your expenses mysteriously increase by almost the exact same amount. You make 40 grand a year living in a studio apartment eating spaghetti, you get bumped to 50 grand. Suddenly you deserve a nicer place. You need a more reliable car. You should eat out more because you're successful now. Before you know it, you're making more money but saving the exact same amount, which is to say almost nothing. I did this. Got a decent freelance contract last year, best money I'd made in years. You know what I did? Upgraded my internet, got a better phone plan, started ordering takeout twice a week instead of once. 3 months later, I looked at my bank account and went, where the hell did all that extra money go? It went to lifestyle inflation. It went to feeling like I'd earned a slightly less miserable existence. The people who hit that 100,000 mark by 40, they're the ones who got the raise and pretended it didn't happen. They kept living like they made their old salary and dumped the difference into retirement accounts. They're also probably the ones I resent at parties, if I'm being honest. Mistake number 3, the debt quicksand. Student loans, credit cards, car payments, medical bills. That time, you had to put a new transmission on a credit card because you needed your car to get to work. Americans aged 35 to 44 have an average debt of over $130,000. Average. That includes mortgages, sure, but it also includes an average of over $4,000 in credit card debt, $25,000 in auto loans, and $34,000 in student loans. You know what's really hard? Saving $400 a month for retirement when you're paying $500 a month in debt payments. You know what's impossible? Getting ahead financially when you're paying 18% interest on a credit card balance that you accumulated 3 years ago during an emergency and have never been able to fully kill. This is where the yap becomes a scream because the system is rigged. You need a college degree to get a decent job, so you take out loans. But the loans are so big that they prevent you from saving for the future that the degree was supposed to secure. You need a car to get to work, but the car payment and insurance eat so much of your paycheck that you can't build an emergency fund, which means the next car problem goes on a credit card. And now, You're paying interest on interest while trying to figure out how to afford retirement in 30 years. Mistake number 4, the FOMO investment screw-ups. Oh man, this one's personal. This one stings. You know what's worse than not investing? Investing stupidly because you got scared you were missing out. I've watched people, good people, smart people, lose thousands chasing meme stocks, crypto coins with dog logos, NFTs of cartoon apes, whatever the hot thing was that month. They saw other people getting rich quick and thought, if I don't get in now, I'll miss my chance. Here's what actually happens. You buy high because you're buying when everyone's excited. Then it crashes. You panic sell at a loss. Now you're not just back where you started, you're behind and you're traumatized. And you don't trust investing anymore, so you don't put money in the boring index funds that actually would have made you money over time. The people with $100,000 at 40, they bought boring index funds in their 20s and never looked at them. They didn't get rich quick. They got rich slow. They got rich the most boring, unsexy way possible. Time in the market, not timing the market. But that's not exciting. That doesn't get clicks. That doesn't give you a story to tell at parties. So we keep chasing the exciting stuff and we keep losing. The solution: Mr. Bill's Common Sense Survival Guide, or How to Not Be Completely Screwed. All right, real talk. If you're nowhere near that 100,000 mark and you're approaching 40 or past it, can you still fix this? Can you still retire without living in a van down by the river? Yes, but it requires getting brutally honest with yourself and making some changes that are simple but not easy. This is what I'm trying to do. These are the steps I'm following after my 2-week panic research binge. Think of this as advice from your older brother who screwed up and is now trying to course correct before it's too late. Step 1. Figure out what you actually have, the painful inventory. You cannot fix what you don't measure. I know it's scary. I know you don't want to look. But you need to sit down this weekend and add up every retirement account you've got. Every 401k from every job, even that one you worked at for 6 months in 2015, every IRA, every forgotten account. Then add up your debt, all of it, student loans, credit cards, car payments, everything. Then figure out your actual monthly spending, not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. 3 months of bank statements, categorize everything, you're going to see things that make you wince. I found out I was spending $140 a month on streaming services and food delivery apps. $140, that's not treating myself, that's bleeding money. This step sucks. It's supposed to suck, but you cannot build a plan on fantasy numbers. You need the real, ugly truth. Step 2. The priority waterfall. First things first. Here's the order of operations, non-negotiable. First, if your employer offers a 401k match, contribute enough to get the full match. That's free money. If you're not taking the match, you're literally turning down a raise. I don't care if money's tight. Find that money. Cut something else. The match is a guaranteed 100% return on your money instantly. Second, build a baby emergency fund. $1,000. Just $1,000. Not $10,000. Not 6 months of expenses. Just enough so that when your car needs a repair or your kid needs new shoes, you don't have to put it on a credit card. Keep it in a high-yield savings account that you don't touch unless it's an actual emergency. Third, kill high-interest debt. Anything over 7% interest rate gets attacked with fury. Credit cards especially. Those things are financial cancer. Pay minimums on everything else, throw every extra dollar at the highest interest debt until it's dead. Fourth, build the real emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, this is your I lost my job fund, your medical emergency fund, your life happens and I don't want to destroy my retirement accounts fund. Fifth, now, only now, do you start aggressively attacking that retirement gap. Most people try to do all of this at once and fail at everything. Pick one priority, finish it, move to the next. Step 3. The catch-up plan, because we're behind, and that's okay. If you're 35 or older and behind on retirement, here's the math on catching up. The IRS actually recognizes that people get behind. If you're 50 or older, you get catch-up contributions. You can put more money into retirement accounts than younger people, but we're not waiting until 50. Here's what I'm doing. What I recommend if you're in the same boat. Max out a Roth IRA first. For 2026, you can contribute up to $7,000 a year. That's $583 a month. That's a lot. If you can't do that, do whatever you can. Even $100 a month is better than zero. The Roth grows tax-free, and you can withdraw your contributions, not the growth, if you have a real emergency, which gives you some psychological safety net. After the Roth, increase your 401k contribution by 1% every time you get a raise. Not every year. Every time you get a raise, you won't even notice it because you never saw that money as yours in the first place. If you're really behind, like I am, you might need to consider working longer. I know. Nobody wants to hear that. But working until 67 instead of 65 and letting your money compound for those extra 2 years makes a massive difference. Working part-time in your late 60s in a low-stress job you actually like, that's not a failure. That's a strategy. The goal isn't to be rich. The goal is to not be desperate. The goal is to have enough that you can stop working. When your body tells you to, not when your boss tells you to. Look, here's my final yap about all this $100,000 by 40 nonsense. Is it a good goal? Yes. Is it realistic for most people? No. Not because people are lazy or stupid, but because most of us didn't get the head start, didn't get the guidance, didn't get the lucky breaks that make hitting that number easy. But here's what I've learned in my 2 weeks of financial panic. The people who end up okay aren't the ones who hit every milestone perfectly. They're the ones who started, who kept going, who made it automatic so they couldn't self-sabotage, and who gave themselves grace when life knocked them sideways. You want to know the real secret to retirement? It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about making one good decision today and then making another good decision tomorrow. And then doing that for 30 years until you look up and realize you actually built something. I'm 37. I don't have $100,000. I probably won't have $100,000 by 40, but I'm going to have more than I do now. And in 5 years, I'll have more than that. And in 10 years, more than that. And that's going to have to be enough. Because the alternative, doing nothing because I can't do everything, still working, still stressed, still broke. So yeah, the $100,000 rule is real. It matters. It's intimidating as hell. But it's not a pass-fail test. It's a guidepost. And if you're behind that guidepost, you've got two choices. Give up and accept a rough future, or start now and make the future less rough. I'm starting now, even if I'm starting late. And if you're in the same boat, well, at least we're rowing together,